All right, guys, thank you so much for coming out tonight. This is our best turnout yet, so we're really thrilled to have everyone here. My name is Sam Lightman. I'm a financial advisor. I work with Investors Group Financial Services, and tonight we've got me presenting on mortgage financing and talking about how to get you better prepared to buy your first home. We got Kelsey, who's a fantastic realtor, one of the best up-and-coming realtors here in the city. And then we got Curtis, who owns Capital Home Inspections, and he's been doing that on his own for 6 years, and we're really happy to have him here to answer any of your questions around that as well. We're hoping to be about an hour and 15 minutes maximum. We do need to, unfortunately, library rules, have everyone out of here by 8:45. Okay, so if we have to cut it short, we will. Housekeeping, there is a bathroom back there. The mall's also got bathrooms if that's something you want to do too. Coffee is back there, donuts are back there. Make sure you filled out a form because we're doing a draw to win a Keg gift card at the end of this. And you each have in front of you hopefully a survey and evaluation sheet. Please, please, please do your best to fill that out for us because we want to keep doing these and we want to know how we can do them better. This one is formulated off of seminars that we've done in the past. This is our third one and we've got feedback. We've been able to adapt. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of roll right into it here. So first of all, I want to let you know this is not a how to get rich quick real estate investing seminar. This is not that at all. This is just education around the home buying process for first-time home buyers. What strategies can you use? How to make sure you're financially sound when buying your first home. For me, I'm going to go through the whole financial side of that, and then we'll pass it off to Kelsey here. This is what I call the cover my butt page. This presentation is just a general source of information. Please don't go back and do everything exactly as I say in this presentation and say Sam told me to do it. As well, any product or service that I talk about in here, I can offer as a financial consultant. If I can't, I'll be very specific about that. And I'm also a licensed insurance broker here in Saskatchewan for life insurance and critical illness and disability, so I'm able to provide that too. But with that being said, I'll give a bit of background on myself. So I've been in the industry for about 4.5 years, and I started at the credit union, did lending, kind of worked my way up, and then I decided to branch out on my own with Investors Group. And I started my own practice about a year and a bit ago, and right now it's been awesome. I love what I'm doing. I've got a associate who is a certified financial planner, been in the business for 42 years, and an assistant that I just brought on our team, so we're growing. This is like the third one we've done, so hopefully this one is better than the first two. But with that being said, what can buying a home mean to you? And I think this is really something that you have to find out for yourself because each of us have different reasons for buying a home. It can be something where you're wanting it for the financial security. So, you know, if the real estate markets rise, you have a mortgage, real estate markets rise, you build equity in your home, right? You keep paying down your mortgage. It can provide that financial security for you. As well as flexibility, like how many people in here are renters right now? Okay. How many of you hate it that you sometimes have to ask your landlord whether or not you want to paint a wall? Or you want to like even just hang a picture in your room, right? Like that's some of the stuff that, you know, little things, but can really motivate us to buy our home. As well, stability. You don't have to worry about your landlord possibly putting your place up for sale. That's something that's huge. I know a lot of people who've been forced out. My brother-in-law just had to move where they were because their renter decided to sell, their landlord decided to sell their home. So one of the things it can offer as well is stability. I truly believe as well this is a very sound financial choice because it's a long-term investment, right, when you buy a home. And we're going to talk about a case study a little bit later on, and we'll get into that in a minute here. So the first thing is, actually, I want to get a show of hands out there. How many people think that the mortgage interest rate is the most important thing to look at when you're buying a home? Show of hands. Mortgage interest rate, no? Okay. So clearly, that's good. Because yes, interest rates can be a very deciding factor, especially if you're looking at a home as an investment. But there's a lot of other things you need to actually look at when you're buying a home other than the interest rate. So there's a lot of costs when you go and buy a home, and you've got a cost sheet in front of you there in the blue folder. Initial costs include your mortgage application fee in some scenarios. They're not always, there most of the time isn't a fee, but that can be applied. Insurance charges, so that's a big one. You have your CMHC insurance, your life insurance, your property insurance, all of those things you're going to want to include on your kind of monthly statement, monthly expenses. Got an appraisal fee. Sometimes that can be worked into the seller, and Kelsey's going to go over negotiations and how to do that. We got your legal and notary fees. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, you need a lawyer for these transactions. and the lawyer really just protects your interest. So there's these fees, and I'm going to get into exactly what these are going to cost you in a minute here. Your home inspection fee, Curtis, he's going to touch on that in a bit here, and then you've got your closing costs. So basically things that are written into the contract that you may have to provide up front in out-of-pocket from your savings. So upon purchase, the initial cost includes your down payments, land title transfers. Again, that's something worked into the legal side. Payment for prepaid taxes, property insurance, moving costs, additional costs, and new home costs. Those are just very vague, but they can show up when you're actually buying. These little $1,000 expenses here and there can actually really add up. Then you've got your monthly expenses. You got your mortgage payment, obviously, your property taxes, your utilities, your maintenance and upkeep, condo fees. So if people are looking at buying a condo, keep in mind you've got an additional expense. Telephone, cable, internet. I know I hear a lot people say, well, I hate renting because I'm just throwing my money away, I'm paying the man. One of the things I would say to you is that may be true. However, sometimes patience can actually put you in a better financial situation. The reason being is because I run into a lot of scenarios where these, specifically the property taxes down to here, will actually sometimes double your current rent bill. So while you may be paying $1,100 in rent that's not building equity, you may be paying that much in property taxes and condo fees, and those things combine even when you own a house. So you're actually, sometimes you end up paying double depending on what the size of your mortgage is. Just keep that in mind too. I know down payment is a term that we throw around really loosely, but I just want to explain a little bit more about exactly what it is. So it's the portion of the purchase price you must provide up front. Don't try saying that 5 times fast. The balance is the mortgage loan, and a larger down payment reduces the cost of your home in the long run. And what I mean by that is if you can put a minimum of 5% down, but if you decide to go with 20, 15, or 20% or 10%, you have a lower mortgage balance starting right off. So even if you get a lower interest rate or a higher interest rate, you're paying less interest over the course of your mortgage. And then, again, there's just a word of caution here. Don't just get into a home because you're pre-approved for one. And I'm going to go through a real-life case study about the perils of doing that. You can get pre-approved for actually quite high amounts that you may or may not actually be able to afford based on your monthly cash flow situation. It's important that you analyze where you are today, and then so that you know what you can actually afford when you were looking to get into your first home. So one of the things I'm doing today is I'm going to provide, hopefully be able to show you the value of what advice can do when you're looking to buy your first home. And in this case study, I've shown an example of an identical couples looking to buy, and how one couple ends up over $13,000 better off than another couple, and I'll show you how this works. So to give you a bit of background on these two couples, obviously they're not their real names. Jill and Jen are twins. Okay, they've grown up, they've done everything together, they dress the same, they do everything similar, and naturally they decide, well, we've got to marry twins as well. So they go and find twins. Jack and James are also twins. Again, they've done everything the same, and they get married, and they're really excited to start out their lives together. So they've also, of course, got an identical financial situation with identical jobs. So they've got $25,000 for a down payment, no debt. Both of them are pre-approved for $350,000. Jen's income, Jill's income, all the same. And their maximum monthly payment they can afford, they've analyzed their own cash flow situation and said, you know, if my rent goes to a mortgage, I can afford another X amount, so total equals $2,200 per month we can put into a mortgage payment. So that's their current situation. So Jack and Jill are super excited that they got pre-approved. They go right to the mortgage broker and they go gung-ho and buy a $350,000 home. So what happens now? We've got a mortgage broker rate. They got them 3% with interest rates rising right now. That's about what you're looking at for a 5-year fixed rate mortgage. 5-year fixed rate means you lock in the interest rate for 5 years. And then it comes up to renewal and then you lock in again. You can do a number of different things, but for ease, I'm just going to go with the 5-year fixed rate as that's the most common. So the purchase price of their home is $350,000. They provided 5% upfront, which is $17,500. Now, you might be wondering what that huge CMHC dollar figure is. So CMHC is what we call mortgage default insurance, and essentially what it is, like picture if you buy a home, then you go bankrupt, and the mortgage is actually worth more than the home value. So the bank forecloses on you, they take the home, and they can't sell it for what the mortgage is worth though. So if they have to take a loss, CMHC then comes and covers that loss for them. So the bank is not at risk anymore because you're considered an at-risk, essentially a riskier lender if you put less than 20% down. That's the bank's condition. If you put less than 20% down, you have to pay CMHC. CMHC, you don't need to remember this number because your lender will talk to you about this, but it's 4.5% of the mortgage balance if you put 5% down in a home. Anyways, our Saskatchewan government, as of August 1st, has instituted PST on insurance premiums. That includes CMHC premiums. So that's 6% of your CMHC balance that you have to pay out of pocket up front.
What happens to that 14,000, Sam? Where does it go?
Good question. Thank you. 14,000 is not an out-of-pocket expense. That gets financed onto your mortgage. Okay, so you don't actually have to pay that out of pocket. So that actually provides a lot of relief. It's still a big charge, and you're going to get charged interest on it as well because it's part of your mortgage. So legal fees, closing costs, home inspection for Jack and Jill are $4,000 combined. That's a relatively, I know it can be lower, it can be higher, depends on what legal firm you use. This is the number I use. It's relatively kind of across the board that. Now mortgage initial balance, that means with their down payment and then they tax CMHC back onto their mortgage, they start out at $347,000. Their monthly payment is $1,644. They got property taxes of $200 a month. And then they're going to also pay utilities and those for about another extra $200 a month, we're going to say. So things they still need to buy. We're looking at furniture, we're looking at art. That was the first thing that came up on Google when I Googled art, so I don't have a lot of good taste. I don't think that's good art. But if any of you in here are offended by that, I apologize. And you got your lawnmowers, you got your appliances. Depending on where you buy, you might want to furnish the home a certain way. So we're going to say that they needed $2,000 extra dollars. Remember how much they had up front was $25,000, right? So what are they at now? So they've had to pay out of pocket $24,397. They've got money left over of $603. Now, I want to make sure that you guys realize this is a very realistic scenario. Most people actually find themselves in situations like this where they buy a home, they think they have enough saved, and then they end up saying, oh wait, I only got $600 left in my savings account. So I don't know about you guys, but when I move into a home, knowing there's a lot of unexpected things that can happen, I'm going to want to have a little more than $600. Their monthly cost, with all of their monthly expenses included, $2,044. That leaves them with a $156 a month surplus. Now, in both situations, we're going to say Jack and Jill both purchased life insurance. That's going to take off $50 a month, so they've got $100 to play with again. I don't know about you, but when I have $100 a month in surplus, I usually don't have $100 a month in surplus. I usually end up taking my wife out for dinner or spending it on marketing or something like that. So we're going to say for convenience sake, they're able to save $100 per month after this though. So James and Jen go buy a home. Now, naturally, they want to do exactly the same thing as their twins. So they want to go right to that same broker, but they have friends that say, okay, no, you should go see my financial advisor because we actually worked out this deal where we were able to get set up a little bit better when we went to buy our home. So they go sit down with their financial advisor, and he advises them, or she advises them, to use their RRSP home buyer's plan. So each of them put $12,500 each into an RRSP. What that does is it generates a total tax return of approximately $5,500 in total. So the way RSPs work is you put money in, you get what your marginal tax rate is, so 22%, 30%, you get that back in tax time. So they got a tax return coming to them of $5,500. And also, the cool thing about RSPs is that when you put money in, you get a tax refund. And the kind of crappy thing is when you take it out, you get that tax. You have to pay that tax back. But with a home buyer's plan, you don't have to do that. So you can take it out without paying the tax back. So that's what he advises them to do. And also, he takes a look at their financial situation. He says, guys, you probably shouldn't buy a home for more than $300,000. That's the max they would be comfortable with their cash flow situation. The only catch in this plan is you have to wait 3 months before you can buy a home because of the RSP program. So they think to themselves, they're like, okay, we want to buy a home. Our best friends are in their home, but we'll wait for 3 months. So fast forward 3 months, James and Jen find their perfect home for $280,000 because they had 3 months to look. They negotiated because Kelsey's an awesome negotiator. They got it down to $280,000, and they got a higher mortgage rate though, 3.2%. So you might think, well, or Jack and Jill got a better deal because they got a 3% mortgage rate, but they got 20 basis points higher, 3.2%. Let's look at how much they have to pay for their down payment. $14,000, a lot less. CMHC tacked onto the mortgage. Okay, $11,970, still less. PST is less, $718 out of pocket. Again, since legal fees is based on a percentage of your home purchase, and for the most part, you're going to pay less legal fees as well. So then their mortgage initial balance is $277,000. Monthly payment of $1,344, property tax of $200, utilities another $200. Things still needed to buy: more crappy art, furniture, lawnmowers, appliances, anything like that. And so this is where they are right now. $20,000 out of pocket. They've got $4,700 left. They got a $450 a month surplus because they bought within their means. Okay, so their cost to buy cost to have a home every month is $1,744. I want to also let you know these are real numbers. I ran these through our mortgage calculator. So in today's interest rate, with that mortgage, that's basically the exact payment that you're going to have. So fast forward to their current financial situation after both of them buy. James and Jen, they've got $4,700 in savings because they bought within their means, plus $5,500 coming from that tax return. They've got a total of $10,282, and they can save $400 per month. Now we go to Jack and Jill. They've got $603. They did not use the home buyer's plan because they did not go through a financial advisor. They had no idea that it even existed. They can save $100 per month because they bought a home that was right at the top of their price range. 1 year later. All right, so of course, because they do everything the same, they also have kids at the same time. So then that leaves the inevitable maternity leave, or paternity leave because it's 2017 and let's get real, right? So James and Jen, they save $400 a month over that year. They earn 3% interest on their money because their financial advisor suggested they invest in low-risk mutual funds that get them 3%. Total savings today, they've got $15,534. This is a very real situation. I do this with my clients. So this is not unrealistic at all. Maternity leave offers 55% of your actual benefits of your salary. Employers can top that up. So we're going to say their employer topped them up to 65%. But then they have baby expenses. By the way I said baby expenses, you can clearly tell I don't have kids. There is diapers, formula, I don't know, like a lot that you have to plan for with a baby, right? Then they get the Canada Child Benefit. Again, I made sure that that number was accurate based on their current financial situation. So each of them will get a non-taxable benefit of $370 a month. That withdrawal from savings, that means they have to cover a deficit basically to make sure their standard of living stays the same. That deficit is $400 a month that they have to withdraw from their savings. So their probable savings after a year of maternity or paternity leave is going to be approximately $10,700. We go the same scenario with Jack and Jill, but they didn't have that home buyer's plan. They were only able to save $100 a month and they did it in their bank savings account. Maternity leave, again, same situation. They still have to withdraw $400 a month, and that actually ends up leaving them in debt of over $3,000. This is not unrealistic at all. I see it all the time. In fact, the average Canadian has $22,000 in credit card and unsecured debt on top of their mortgage, on top of their car loans. So this number inflates very quickly, as well as that number depletes very quickly. Okay, so I want you to keep that in mind again. It's very, very important that when you are looking for a home, that rate is not what is driving your decisions. So in this scenario, James and Jenna were $13,000 better off just because they used a home buyer's plan and decided to execute patience when buying. I know a lot of the time we can really easily get tunnel vision, and I'm sure Kelsey's going to talk a little bit about this as well. We can zero in on a home that we really want, even if it's a little bit above our price range. Sometimes it really pays to take a step back and say, okay, this is a long-term decision. I'm not making this for the next 3 years. I'm not making this decision for the next 3 years. I'm making it possibly for the next 25 years. This could be the place where you want to start your family. This could be the place where you want to maybe flip a home. There's so many different things you can do with investing into real estate, but the biggest thing is that anyone who's a first-time home buyer can utilize the RSP home buyer's plan. And that is something that's going to save you thousands, literally thousands of dollars. In most cases, not everyone has $25,000 ready to put down on a home, I understand that. In most cases, you are going to get tax returns of a few $1,000s out. So touching on that, again, you have to be in the home or the RSP for at least 90 days. There's also a home buyer's credit that you need to make sure that you claim in the year you buy your home. It turns into $750 of tax savings. So that money comes back to you in tax season. This is available only to first-time home buyers in the year of purchase. This is CMHC rates. So the more you put down on your home, the less CMHC you are required to pay. Once you get here to 80%, you actually don't have to pay CMHC fees. However, you can. It's optional, but you don't have to. I wouldn't recommend it. And then benefits of a pre-approval, because a pre-approval is the first step after this. So where we go from here, you need to know what you can afford. So sitting down with someone that you trust, a financial advisor that you trust, or a broker that you trust, knowing what you can afford and what your payments will be. Because that's going to be the determining factor for when you go to Kelsey. The interest rate's guaranteed for 90 days, sometimes up to 120 depending on the firms you go with. Demonstrates you're a serious buyer, which can help with negotiating. When Kelsey knows you guys are in it for the long haul, that you are serious about buying this home because you have a pre-approval, she can leverage that against the seller and hopefully drive the price down, and she'll talk more about that too. But, mouse got stuck here. Then you need a lawyer. Why do you need a lawyer? Unfortunately, they're expensive, but you got to protect your interests. They review all the contracts, and they provide that peace of mind. And you also, why do you need property insurance? Provides money, and you do need property insurance. No one's going to approve a mortgage without it. Provides money or funds if you suffer a loss from fire, theft, and it has to be specified in your policy. Covers you for personal liability if someone is injured while visiting your home. Could cover liability for accidental damages if you cut a tree down and it falls on your neighbor's roof. This could cover you. Again, these have to be specified in your policy though. This is also something I cannot provide for you, and Investors Group cannot provide for you. You have to go through a broker like a Harvard Western or a Knight Archer for something like this. The other insurance needs, life insurance, disability, and critical illness. I left this last, but it is by no means the least important part. The amount of stories I've heard of people who have used life insurance, disability insurance, it's not something we like to think about, but it is very necessary. Again, I would advise if you do go, let's say with a bank, if you go with a broker or anyone like that to do your mortgage, please do not take the mortgage insurance. You need to get insurance that's individually owned by you. And I can explain that in greater detail. If you're wanting to chat with me after, I can explain that in greater detail, but it really doesn't protect you, it protects the bank. Other than that, that's what I had for you guys for today. Just some general information around the home buying process, how the value of advice can save you a lot of money. Interest rates are not the most important thing when looking to buy. And just making sure that you are set in a good financial position. We've had over, I think, 50 people come to these seminars, these past 2 seminars that we've done. And I've been able to help numerous people save money for their homes and be able to put themselves in a situation where they're not house broke. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm going to be sticking around a little bit afterwards. I've also got your information on there, so I will be giving you a call, just a heads up on that. If you say, Sam, I think you're stupid, don't call me, then tell me that on the phone, and we'll go from there. But I really appreciate everyone coming out today, and while Kelsey gets set up, if you have general questions, please shoot them my way, and we'll have about a few minutes for that. But then specific questions, just save until after, and I'll be able to give you greater detailed answers.
Does anybody have any questions? No?
Cool.
Well, I'm not gonna throw my stuff.
Yep.
Sorry.
The money back RSPs, is that just from the deduction that you get when you get to contribute it?
Yeah, absolutely. I heard you talk, you're an accountant, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. I like that. Good question. So yeah, so the way an RSP works is when you contribute money, it gets deducted off of your yearly income. The government sees the contribution actually lowers your income. So your marginal tax rate at $40,000 is going to be about federal and provincial about 26 some odd percent. So you get 26% of that back in the form of a tax refund.
The repayment for mortgage purposes.
What's that?
We use that for mortgage purposes. You have to replenish that back.
Good question. Good question. In this example, yes, you absolutely do. But in this example here, you actually have a year's grace period from the time that you withdraw the funds. So you can take those funds out, and in this exact scenario, the year was used to save that full $400 and put it into something that was immediately accessible. So thank you for asking that. That was something I left out of this presentation. You have to repay that over the course of 15 years. If you take out the maximum, which is $25,000, that's $1,666 per year. So that breaks down into just over $100 and some odd dollars a month that you have to repay back into that plan. In their case, that's for both of them, they have to repay that back. You can have $25,000 each. If you've got $50,000, you can put $25,000 in one RSP, $25,000 in another. And that really can help you with the down payment. Yep. Nope. All the same. It's just a matter of a form to fill out when you withdraw. Yep. Awesome questions. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Can everybody hear me? My name is Kelsey Smith. I have been a realtor with Platinum Realty for just under 2 years. Now, before I started selling real estate, I was working in a real estate brokerage. So I just kind of learned everything about real estate a little bit backwards. I learned how to do the paperwork, the marketing, deal with the lawyers and the mortgage brokers, all before I actually started selling property, which I thought helped understand the transaction and the process better from a behind the scenes look. I didn't just hop into selling real estate, and I was figuring it out as I went, but I knew a little bit more when I went in, which helped. So this is my buyer's book. This is a presentation that I use for all of my buyers when we sit down and we meet in my office. I am not going to read over every line with you guys because we just don't have time for that, but I will cover the most important stuff. And then I encourage you to just read through the rest of it while you can, because it's all really important and relevant information. Earlier today, I had a gentleman email me and say that he wasn't going to come to the seminar, he wasn't able to make it, and he asked me to just brief him about a few things that we were going to touch on during the seminar. So I said we would cover the financing, the actual purchasing of the property, and then the home inspection. And he asked me why it was free. And as a realtor, I'm not actually allowed to charge for my services unless I'm being paid in the form of commission check. I cannot charge you guys for this. I wouldn't charge you for it anyways, even if I could. But the reason that these are free is because who's ever experienced buyer's remorse? You know, you go to the grocery store, you buy a car, and you just didn't get all of the information you needed before you made that decision. That's why we put these seminars on. We're just trying to arm you and give you guys all of the information you need so that you're not scattered and frantic while you're going through the process. Not only that, but I don't want you to experience any buyer's remorse. And the saying goes, if you don't know the questions to ask, then typically nobody's going to just openly tell you, right? So the seminars are structured in a way that gives you the information you need so that you know what questions you have to ask when you're actually going through this process. And that's why we do it. So on the first page of the book here, it says, are you ready? And just determining whether you guys are emotionally, physically, financially ready to take on this role and invest in property is a big deal. It's probably the biggest financial investment you'll ever make in your lives. I don't know what you guys do for work, but it's a pretty big deal buying a house. And you should be ready for it. You just make sure you're staying in Regina for the next couple of years and you have a good relationship with the person. So the first section of the book here is financing. Sam covered that stuff with you guys. But really the only thing I want to touch on here is you need a credit score of 620 to be pre-approved for a house. That's a loose number. Most people, most lenders, most mortgage brokers will say 620 is the number, like your credit score needs to be at in order for you to purchase. I don't know how they do it. Some lenders say they can do less than 620. It would depend on the mortgage broker you guys are dealing with. Sam, is it 620?
With Investor Group, it's 620. Some mortgage brokers can offer the mortgages to different institutions that lend to higher risk.
Right. Yes. So 620 is what you guys need to shoot for when you're making your car payments, and you know those monthly credit card payments you have, make them on time. Those things all build your credit. That's what you're going to need to buy a house, most importantly. The second thing is affordability is a big deal. Sam touched a little bit on affordability, but let's say, for example, you got pre-approved for a house of $300,000, that purchase. That's like the max you can buy. That is taking all of your money every month. That is your max monthly mortgage payments that you guys can make. And what I would like to do for you is encourage you to purchase a little bit lower than that, like maybe 280, 275, just so that you have a little bit of extra money every month to go for ice cream and to buy dinner and maybe to save for a trip, right? When you cap out your mortgage like that, you're leaving yourself house broke. And you guys are first-time home buyers. 9 times out of 10, there are going to be expenses that you're going to have to pay to fix up the home in some way or another. You know, you might need a new furnace or shingles or something, right? You're not buying $1 million house at this point in your life, so you're going to have to do something to your property when you buy it. So that's affordability. In here it says, why is it so important to be pre-approved? As a realtor, I don't need you to be pre-approved to show you houses. You will, however, need to be pre-approved if you want to buy the one that you fall in love with while we're out viewing property. So it's a good idea to be pre-approved so that you know what you can purchase, so that you can stay under that as well, and so that you don't go looking at houses, fall in love with something, darn it, you're not pre-approved, and now you're really disappointed. I'm really disappointed. Nobody wants to be disappointed, so just set yourself up for success and go through that gentle pre-approval process so that you guys can get your ducks in a row and know what you're doing from there.
How long does pre-approval last?
Pre-approval lasts 90 days. With that being said, if you if you were to go into the bank tomorrow and you got pre-approved and you didn't get, let's say you got pre-approved for $200,000 and you actually want to buy a property for $300,000, it doesn't mean you have to buy in the next 90 days. Okay, that pre-approval can expire as many times as you want it to until you guys have enough money saved up and until you're ready to actually buy. But it takes, I don't know, about 20 minutes to go through the pre-approval. They do a credit check.
And in your book that's there, you have an actual on-site pre-approval form that we have for you guys. It doesn't check your credit, but if you want to fill that information out and hand that to me confidentially at the back, we'll get back to you. I'll get back to you in the next 3 to 4 days to make sure that see what you're pre-approved with without doing a credit check.
So next in here is called your realtor and you. Building a really good professional team during this process is really important. Hiring a good mortgage broker, hiring a good realtor, and a good home inspector are probably going to help you more than anything while you're doing this. It's okay if you don't use me as your realtor ever. That's not what we're doing here. But when you do go to choose those services, choose the people who communicate with you properly. And the internet makes everything so accessible. I mean, Facebook and Twitter and Instagram are like new resumes nowadays, right? So Google those people, check them out, make sure they're nice to other people and that they do have good reviews online and that they seem like they're doing good business. Because if they're not helping other people in the way that they should be, they're not going to help you in the way that you should be. And you guys want to buy good homes with good mortgages, with good people, and that's just the advice that I can give you is to make sure you choose those people wisely. So, what do I actually do as a realtor? I don't just go for coffee all day and drive my car and show luxury houses all the time. I schedule all viewings on your behalf. I communicate and negotiate on your behalf. I will talk to the seller's agent for you guys. I will schedule your home inspection, your sewer inspection. I will handle all of your paperwork as well. Now, paperwork means that when you write an offer, somebody's got to submit it to the seller's agent. Somebody's got to submit it to the lawyers. Somebody has to submit it to the mortgage broker. I will do all of that stuff for you. It is a very easy process for you guys because we really take care of all of the dirty laundry for you. So those are a few things that I do for you as a realtor. There is a needs assessment in here. I call it a buyer's counseling session where you meet in my office before you guys actually are ready to go out and buy a home. We'll sit down at the office and we will hash out all of the details of the property that you want to buy. 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, you need a garage, what area of the city do you want to live in, what price point do you want to stay under. I need to know all of the details about the house that you picture yourself to be in so that I can send you property that meets that criteria. And I want to send you property that meets that criteria because if it doesn't meet your criteria, then we're not going to buy it. And one of the reasons that I really want to emphasize the importance of knowing what you're looking for while you're out viewing property is that every time you schedule a showing in somebody's home, that seller is hoping and praying that you guys are going to be the buyer that wants to buy their house, right? That's why they have their house on the market. They're motivated enough to let you guys come through and see the house. We don't know if they've had 25 showings. And every showing that they have, they might have to pack up their kids and their dogs and clean their house spotless so that it looks good for you guys, right? So in an attempt to respect everybody in this industry, we try to only show you property that does meet your criteria and that is a potential home for you, right? We just want to make sure that the sellers aren't frustrated with all of the buyers that have come through and they're willing to work with you and negotiate with you when you do write an offer. Okay, so there's the needs assessment. And we went through the Kelsey, but we like buying houses. That is respecting the sellers. So at this point in time, you guys should be, hypothetically, you guys should be pre-approved. You should have filled out the needs assessment, and you guys should be ready to go out and look at houses. And what happens when we look for property, we'll schedule maybe 5 showings in an evening. The brain remembers between 3 and 7 things at any given point in time. So anything above 7, you guys are forgetting. So if I'm showing you more than 5 properties in an evening, you're forgetting 90% of the stuff about them. And that's okay, but I want you to remember all of the good stuff about the ones that you did like, right? So that's why we only show 5 houses in an evening. While we're looking through those houses, there are a couple things that I'll do for you. I'm not a home inspector. I don't pretend to be a home inspector. I'm not going in the attic or looking under the vents and stuff like that while we're looking at property. What I will do for you is point out the condition of the shingles. I will point out the condition of the windows, the overall condition of the home, what I think the home may or may not be if it's priced too high. I'll point out for you all of those general things that you might not know to look for. And I'll point them out for you so that you learn about property, first of all, so you know what to look for when you're going out and you're viewing houses, but also so that you don't like one that might have all of these really obvious issues. And if you do like it, write an offer, that gets accepted. The home inspector comes in and tells you about $20,000 worth of latent defects that the realtor should have been able to tell you about, right? It's about being proactive. And helping you guys through the process, right? It's not my job to sit back and be quiet. It's my job to advocate for you, and that's what we do while we're viewing the property as well. Another one of the things that I'll point out for you while we're walking through homes is the foundation. I know you guys know that Regina has iffy soil, and again, I'm not a foundation inspector, but there are tricks to tell whether the walls are deflected or if it might need bracing. I'll just point it out to you, and if it seems like something you want to have further investigated, then at that point in time we'll hire a foundation inspector, and they are free. They'll come out and they'll tell you whether your walls need to be braced, if they need to be blue skinned, anything like that. But again, it's something that I'll point out for you so that we're not missing it. So this writing an offer part here, let's say you guys have looked at property, you found one that you love, you want to write an offer on the house. How do you know what price to write that offer at? You don't. You don't know if the house is priced too high. You don't know if it's priced at fair market value. And it is your realtor's job to do a comparative market analysis on that property for you. A comparative market analysis here, all of the ways that we look at property to compare them together to kind of see what their value is on this form here. But what we're doing is we're comparing the condition of it, the condition of the home that you want to buy against all of the other property that's sold in the area, so that we know whether or not it is priced too high based on what's sold, whether it's priced at fair market value or whether it's priced below. And whatever number we come up with, whatever number I come up with after I've done that market analysis should be the number that we write the offer at. Okay, so what we're trying to do there when we do a market analysis before writing an offer is we're trying to make sure that you're paying fair market value for the house and you're not paying more than it's worth, right? That's where buyer's remorse comes in. How would you guys know that you're supposed to do that? How are you going to get the data to be able to do your own market analysis? You're not. That's what you need realtors for. That's what we're here to do for you. Okay. So you have found a house you love, you've written an offer. There are some terms and conditions that we put into an offer for you. Those terms and conditions are your possession date, your price, the appliances that stay, those sort of things. What's important on this page here that I'm going to explain to you in depth is a deposit. When you're ready to buy a home, you will need to have some available funds ready to put down on a property as a deposit. We usually ask for $5,000 on the average $300,000 property. If you were buying a $1 million house, it's probably closer to 20, but for this seminar, it's 5,000. Now, with that being said, if you have your money in an RRSP or a tax-free savings account, you will need to have access to $5,000 of it when you are ready to write an offer on the property. Because I'm going to take it, you're gonna write me a check, I'm going to put it in the buyer's brokerage trust account, and it's going to sit there until your possession date. And on possession date, the lawyers are gonna take that $5,000 and they're going to put it towards part of your down payment. So it's not extra money that you guys, it's not an extra $5,000 you guys have to come up with, it's just some of your down payment that you have to give us upfront to hold your spot on the property that will eventually go to form part of your down payment. Does that make sense? Because that's really important, and I don't want to get those lines skewed. Like I said, it's not extra money that you have, you just need to have it available for you when you write your offer. Let's say there are conditions or terms that we write into an offer. Financing is one of them, a home inspection is another, and then you might have a handful of other things in there. But let's say, for example, you have a home inspection done on this property and it's really bad. Your basement's falling apart, your plumbing's broken, there's something wrong with your attic, and you no longer want to buy that property, but you've already given me that $5,000 deposit, you will get it back in full with no interest and no penalties incurred to you, so long as you have not removed conditions yet. And conditions removal it's called a notice to remove conditions. It's a form that you guys sign after you have approved your financing, had your home inspector approval, or your home inspection approved. It's a form that you will sign when you're ready to buy the house. There's no turning back after you sign that notice to remove conditions form. But if something happens prior to signing that and you don't want to buy the property, you will get your deposit back without issue. Okay? So that's kind of how we protect you. We give you 10 days from the time that you write your offer to the time that you need to have your financing in order to get all of your ducks in a row so that you can determine whether or not this is the right home for you. I have a section on the home inspection in here. I'm gonna let Curtis go over that with you guys. Sorry. I'm gonna let Curtis go over that part with you guys. So we'll just flip to the very last page. This closing costs. So I just had a set of buyers purchase a home for $225,000, and I had 3 lawyers quote me on their legal fees, and their legal fees came in between $2,100 and $2,200. Okay, so they vary based on your purchase price, but for the sake of a $300,000 purchase, let's say they're $2,000. So $2,000 for your legal fees, $550 for a home inspection, give or take. You're going to be looking at about $900 for PST. The only thing I don't have in this book is that PST on your CMHC insurance, because I had the books printed before that rule was changed and I have not updated them yet. So that's the only thing that's missing in there. And then of course movers and any other expenses that Sam might have touched on. Realtors are free, buyer's agents are free. We don't charge you anything. We're here to help you guys. And mortgage brokers are also free. You don't pay them anything. There's nothing built into your purchase that pays us out of that. So that's really it on the home buying side. Like I said, we give you guys this information so that you can go into the process armed with all of the information and knowledge you need in order to make sure that you make a good decision about the house and about the mortgage and everything else that you guys have to decide on at this point in time. You just want to make sure that you have all of the information you need in order to do that. Do you guys have any questions?
Are there any bylaws or regulations to prevent renting a house that you own? I've heard of some contracts having clauses in here that you can't rent.
Let's say, well, okay, if you're buying a rental property, you're probably going to pay a higher insurance rate, or your mortgage rate is gonna be higher, first of all. And they might make you put a higher down payment down as well.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's tricky, because you don't wanna lie to the bank, right? If you're buying a house and you're deeming it a primary residence, it should be you living in the property. The difference between buying a rental and a primary residence is you have to put more than 5% down when you're buying a rental. You only have to put 5% down when you're buying a primary residence. So the bank doesn't want a bunch of people out there running around buying primary residences for less than they should be and actually renting them out. I have heard of lawyers and lenders making buyers sign documents stating that yes, this is a primary residence, we are not using it for rental purposes. However, if they don't know about it, then I don't know about it either.
But that's still nothing that corresponds to if you also live there then?
Oh,
It's
if
only
you live there, you
don't
can
live
do whatever you want with it, yeah. Technically, it's your property, you own it, you put the insurance on it, so you can do with it what you want. Any other questions?
I think it's super good to run a business out of that, so you can make future practice with bylaws of the city.
Not really. It depends where you're buying it. If you're buying it in downtown, you have to be careful of residential zoning. So property is zoned either commercial or residential, agricultural, things like that. You'll know when you're looking for property. If you're just running like a hair salon out of your basement, you should be okay. It will depend on what end of the city you're buying your house. Like I said, if you're buying in the middle of downtown where there is a lot of commercial zoning, then you might run into that, but for just a residential property, I run my business out of my house, and I don't pay anything over and above for doing that. Anything else?
What's the like average market price of a house? Is $200,000 high, low? Like what are we buying right now?
For July, June, July, for August, I believe it was 323,000. And I mean, it's not high, it's not low. I would say, I mean, as a first-time home buyer, it just depends what you guys' income is at. So no purchase is ever the same, and there are houses out there for everybody. It just depends on where you come in at.
Just for resale right now, you see the condo market being resaturated currently.
Yes, I would say, okay, condos are really good for first-time home buyers because they're low maintenance. You don't have to do a whole lot of stuff with condos. They're typically, they cost you less than houses. Right now, what we're finding is that because there's so much overbuild, the builders are still building way too many condos than they should be in townhouse style condos, is that those really nice condos that were built 5, 6, 7 years ago are just competing with the brand new ones. And I mean, you can't, for the same price, why would you buy a condo that was built 7 years ago for the same price that you could buy a brand new one today, right? And that's the difference, and that's what these resale people are running into, because they just flooded the market and they're still building. Anything else?
Can you touch on what the benefit of the buyer, working with the buyers, as opposed to letting them see the house they love, owning a listing agent, and viewing the house, go through those?
So there's such a thing as limited dual agency. When you work with a buyer's agent like myself, we're in a buyer's agency, which means I have fiduciary duties only to you. When, let's say hypothetically, you see a house online and you call the agent that has that property listed, they already have fiduciary duty to the seller. So what we run into in that situation is that you get into a limited dual agency where one realtor is forced to represent both parties. And it kind of, it really nullifies their ability to represent both of you guys' property properly, because they can't say to the buyer, well, I think the seller would accept this amount. And they can't say to the seller, I know the buyer will pay this much, right? They lose their ability to negotiate fairly on your behalf. So hiring your own buyer's agent is a really positive thing. I'm not going to say you'll pay any more if you do use a realtor that's already representing the seller. However, you can trust that your needs are being fairly met when you work with the buyer's agent. Did that answer your question, Chris? Yeah.
So when you buy your first house, and say you decide you're gonna, renovate it a little bit, it's out of date, whatever it needs to be covered. That mean work in with your mortgage payment, or is that out of pocket?
Both. You can do mortgage plus improvements. I believe the way that mortgage plus improvements, Sam might have to touch on this. I believe the way that mortgage plus improvements work is you have to have that money available for you. So let's say you're buying a house for $300,000, but it needs a new kitchen, and you want to put a $20,000 kitchen in there. The bank will give you a mortgage for $320,000. And you'll have to have $20,000 available to you to install that kitchen, pay for it, and then show the bank the receipt that you did that, and then they will send you the money back. Okay, so that's how mortgage plus improvements work. It's really not super helpful for buyers because 9 times out of 10 you guys don't have that extra 20 grand kicking around to be able to do all of those renovations. But it is there for you. A lot of times people do it when they're buying new homes and they want to finish a basement and they just have tons of credit available to them. And at that point in time, they'll put the basement or the renovation on their line of credit, and then they'll be able to get the money back from the bank. But you have to have the money available to you before you do the renovation.
You mentioned a foundation inspector,
Yep.
and that's so it's not different than the home inspector then.
They are different than a home inspector. A home inspector will check out everything in your house, whereas a foundation inspector will literally just walk outside. They'll look at the walls. They'll check to see whether they're deflected or not. Your basement walls should look straight like this, right? Sometimes when they get deflected, they kind of bend in the middle like that, and they push stuff out, and then that's when all of your walls up here start moving. And then they get a big crack right in the middle of them most of the time, and then you get water through. Not all the time. You don't always get water in your basement, but you don't want your foundation to crack because obviously it's the foundation of your house.
Was there a cost? Did you mention cost?
They're not. I've never been charged for a home inspection. I usually call the guys at AAA Solid Foundation. They're a very reputable company in the city. And you just give them a call, say, I need you to come and look at this basement for me, and they can usually do it for you very quickly with no charge. I don't know if any of the other companies in the city charge. I don't think so. It's a free service.
Sorry, just one last part. I don't know if you can answer this, but for treated wood foundation basements, resale on those and like
Resale is
done.
tough.
Yeah.
Resale is tough. Curtis is the better person to ask about this, but resale on wood foundations is tough because people don't know enough about them. Wood foundations are probably better than brick basements, I would say, especially pressure treated wood basements. It's not often that they move. They move like a normal basement, but compared to a concrete, they're just fine. If it's really your resale you're concerned about, then I wouldn't buy one because they take a lot longer to sell, and they usually sell for a lot less than they're worth. Right. People don't like to insure wood basements either.
They will say that they will, but then they'll do a hard time on it.
And they'll charge you a buttload of money for appraisals and extra insurance and all of this stuff. So they're not bad. They're not bad if you buy one. You're gonna be okay, but there's just a little bit of extra hassle that goes with buying them. And the resale is difficult.
Yeah, how before that you advise the first buyer to go for the house that has a low amount of payment, whether that to go to 300. Can you elaborate furthermore for the demerit and the marriage on that? When you are buying the less house price, then to go to the higher house price based on the condition of the house.
Right. So the difference between a house listed at $300,000 and a house listed at $270,000 isn't very different. You might have one less bathroom. You might not have a garage. You might not have updated flooring, trim, and casing, and all of this stuff that people really like. So really, all I'm saying is that when you're deciding how much property you want to buy, just keep in mind your affordability. You will be able to find a house that you like in whatever price range you decide to buy it. You don't have to have that concern. And you don't have to buy a house 2 weeks after you start looking either. And you can take your time. It's okay if it takes you 3 months or 4 months, right? The average person takes between anywhere from 7 and 14 viewings to decide on the property that they want. That's the amount of viewings that it takes you guys to find the house that you like. But that's not to say that it can't be more than that. Did that answer your question?
Well, because if I go for the lower house, lower house amount payment, I might assume that later on I have to renovate some of them
You could
there.
assume that,
And
yes.
that would be increasing my,
You bet.
and then when I go to the new one, might be higher for the interest, but I will be not renovating anything.
So if you're buying a house that's fully renovated and it's kind of at the top of your budget, you really just have to buy it with the advice, knowing that it will hold its investment. And hold its investment is tricky because I can't predict market, but buying a house that's fully renovated and buying it at its fair market value is important. So that's where that market analysis comes in before you guys write your offer.
And I don't think we're not advocating buying a cheaper house, cheaper than $300,000. What we're just saying is when you know what your price range is, maybe don't go to the top of your price range, because one person's price range could be $500,000, one person's could be $300,000. I wouldn't recommend either of them to buy for that max pre-approval, right? So just keep that in mind too.
You've got a lot of life to live. I mean, your first time. Nobody owns a home here, do they? No. So you guys are first-time home buyers. You have a lot of years left in the property that you're going to buy. You're probably going to buy it, and you're going to sell it, and you're going to buy another one. You're probably going to sell 2 or 3 houses in your lifetime. Okay. So, and you don't have to be concerned about buying less. I want you to consider your affordability and make sure that you can afford it long term and keep that investment steady as you go.
For a house that has a braced basement, how much can we expect that to diminish its value over a?
It shouldn't diminish its
Okay, it should
value.
be the same as
If
a
it's
house that
braced,
hasn't had a braced basement, but is in good
As
condition.
long as it's braced and you have that engineer's report to go with it, you should be okay.
Okay.
And the only reason you wouldn't be okay is if you have a set of buyers that are not being told the correct information.
Going back to the rental basement you were talking
Yep.
about, right? So if I plan to buy a house with a separate and a basement,
Yeah.
do I need to let that know?
You don't need to let the bank know.
Do
No,
I have to let
unless.
any government body know about that when I rent the property?
No. So if you're buying a property with a basement suite in mind and you're planning on having that rental income contribute to your mortgage, which it will, obviously, that's why we rent out property. But for the purpose of being able to buy the property on the road, then no, you don't have to report it. You should still make sure that your tenants have rental insurance too, like there's insurance stuff that you have to go through when you get to that point, but for mortgaging, no. Any other questions? Keep them coming. All right, Curtis's turn.
I'm gonna pass around one of my typical reports. This is what I did last spring. Obviously, there's snow on the ground. We did have snow last year, actually. So just take a quick gander and just kind of pass it along. Just for reference, a little bit about what I do. So as Kelsey has mentioned, I'm Curtis Folgery. I own and operate Capital Home Inspections. I started it 6 years ago, almost to the day actually, so 6 full years doing this. This is all I do for a living. I don't fix homes. I don't change homes. I inspect homes. So what is an inspection? An inspection basically is a general overall view of what you guys have decided to buy. So you've gone through the whole process of this, and you've now gotten almost to the finish line, and then some know-it-all jerk like me comes in and kills all your dreams. I hope that doesn't happen.
I want to emphasize that we need him to do that though, so that you can buy a home that doesn't require, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars of ongoing maintenance. Coming into your affordability, Making sure that the house you buy based on your home inspection is something that you can afford long-term is really important, which is why we have home inspectors.
Right, so as the gentleman in the back said earlier, if I can afford to buy something that I don't have to put any renovations in, why wouldn't I buy that? Well, it's a good point. I mean, but it depends on your skill set. Everybody in here does something different for a living. And so what I do is I don't care if you're, say you're an accountant, yeah, money guy, or if you're a mechanic, or if you're a structural engineer like my client this morning. It'd been nice to know that when I was talking about that stuff, but he told me after, it wouldn't have changed anything. So, but I go in and I look at it with no preconceived notions whatsoever. I go into dumps, I go into brand new houses, I go into things that I just curse all the way through it, and halfway through I have to kick myself in the butt because I'm working for you guys. I'm trying to tell you a story. There must be a reason why you put an offer on a house that I'm inspecting for you, okay? So mine is not to judge the property, it's to find out what condition it is, put in a report form, meet with you if possible, go through that report, go through the house, talk about anything that maybe you didn't see when you fell in love with it and you wanted to put an offer on your dream home, okay? I don't want your dream home to become your nightmare home. Now, I'm not perfect, I can't see through walls. If I could, I wouldn't be doing this because I could charge a lot more doing something else. But I'm pretty good at figuring something out just looking at either the house from the outside or from the inside or the attic or what have you. So there's a lot into it. If you get a chance to look at the report, it's fairly detailed and it can be very, very overwhelming, right? So you guys all, after hearing all of this great information, still feel like buying a house. I've had 5 houses. I own 3 right now, my principal residence and 2 revenue properties since 1993. And I can't remember one of them where I didn't want to puke my guts out or crap my drawers. It's high anxiety. You're laying out your financials for some guy to look at them and go, nah, you know what, you're not richer than you think, no matter what Scotiabank tells you. So we get all amped up, but the biggest part of our anxiety is being told no. Or being told, man, you picked a lemon here. Now, I'm never going to say that to you because, again, I don't know what you saw in the house to buy the house, whether it's brand new or it's falling apart in my eyes. So what I try to do, though, is give you as much information as possible, both in print and online. I upload these reports, they're saved for 7 years. You can transfer it to your mortgage broker or whoever. Even insurance brokers want to see my reports sometimes. But that information is for you to sit down and go through and go, yeah, you know what, there was no surprises there. I'm still happy with the house. Let's ink the deal. Let's remove those conditions that Kelsey mentioned earlier. You probably already met the financing one. And that, you know, that's so important. The people that I meet that get there and then 2 days later they find out after they've already paid me my fee. I'll mention that in a minute here. Then they find out, oh, they got qualified. Something happened there and everybody got excited and they put an offer on the house and then it falls through. Now, I don't know if that's ever happened with Kelsey, but I know Kelsey's had to cancel some inspections that she booked because the buyer said, yeah, we're good to go, let's put an offer on it, and then wait a second, the financing dropped, so she doesn't want to waste my time, and she doesn't want to waste your money. So it is very important to go through those processes, and that will take some of the anxiety out of the whole process by knowing that financially you're able to get through all of those things that they listed, that sound listed for you, and all the extra fees, and you go in eyes wide open. Back of my business card, grab one if you like, that'd be great, but it says, and I ripped this off, I'm a total fraud. Not total. Anybody seen The Lion King? What's a little Rafiki or monkey or whatever, what do you say, look beyond what you see? Yeah, I stole that. So that's on the back of my card, but I got to thinking because somebody was after me to come up with a slogan, what am I supposed to do? And I thought, you know, it just kind of came to me a little corny, and I got kids, so I'm kind of cornball. Ask them if you see them. I'm supposed to look beyond what you guys saw when you walked into the house and like, yeah, this is it. Looked at 38 homes and Thank God Kelsey got me to this one. Let's offer, right? So then I go in there, and it's not to kill your dreams. The job I did this afternoon was, the house was partly torn apart. It's almost 100 years old. It's in the Crescents. I estimate, that's not my job, but I was kind of looking at it going, the lot's probably 230 grand. You're getting a house for 300,000. That's pretty good. They got a brand new garage in the back, brand new roof, all of these wonderful things. I could have easily ripped that thing apart in my report. But they saw all of that. They wanted to find out if they could renovate it, finish it, take it to completion. So there's different needs for everybody. And what I help you do is try to just illustrate some of those things. We'll talk about some of my concerns, like if there's something that isn't right, like who's asking about the foundation walls. That is a big thing in our city. Who's been out shopping for homes? Who's anybody gone looking for a house yet? No, probably all live in homes. You go down in the basement, are anybody's floors as flat as this is? Yeah, there's very few, trust me. Even brand new homes, the floors are, nobody can do flat work here in this city apparently. I don't know why, except they can't. The flat work is concrete floors, driveways and stuff. So, but that's not structural unless the floor heaves up and it pushes all your walls up because it was a bad design or an older house, and then it starts transferring all the way up to the roof, and I've seen that. So you want somebody that'll go to look at all of these components for you, starting outside the garage, you know, what conditions the decks are. Did somebody just slab it up? I saw a deck one day, I didn't even want to walk on it, and it was 10 feet up. It was off a bi-level. They had a walkout below it. I didn't even go on it. I wouldn't go on it. It just wasn't safe. So yeah, so that's kind of why you would want to have a home inspection. Obviously, the time to have the home inspection is near the end. There could be an appraiser come in. The bank may say, well, listen, we got to get an appraisal, the value of the house. That's not my job. I don't value houses. I kind of have an idea, but most of the time, I don't even know what you're getting the house for. Most of the time, I don't even look. When I pull up an MLS to get how old the house is and some other information, I don't even see the number. It doesn't mean anything to me, right? You guys are the ones buying it. So my job is not to assess values of things. It's just to tell you that condition that day. And, you know, I may even joke about something like your roof. Yeah, the shingles are okay now, but there's a couple curled. We get a heavy wind tonight. It could be totally different tomorrow. And there's a lot of truth to that. So this is based on what I get to see that day. There are some rules and regulations that we have to follow as inspectors, even though we're not certified by the government like BC and Alberta, which actually is proven to not really do anything for consumer protection anyway, but that's another story for another day. So basically we're governed by standards of practice set out by associations and insurance companies. So there are things to do. So if I've got a roof that I could possibly get hurt on, slip off, fall, my family's going to sue the owner of the house, which isn't you guys, the buyers, it's the person that gave us permission to be there, right? Then I can't go on it. But I'll do my best to try to get as much information about that roof or get up in the attic, for instance. So there's things that we can't do. I can't, just because I think there's something behind that wall, I can't go kicking the wall in. I got to leave the house basically or the property the same way as I found it. That being said, I don't hide behind those either. I do try to find out as much as I possibly can for you. I think most of my clients find that, you know, I might even be a little too thorough because you get a book like that in 1 hour and we go over it and you go, oh my God. Well, I create a summary in that report. You can sit down and you can kind of just prioritize it because I told somebody that there wasn't a ground fault plug beside the kitchen sink and they lost their mind. Thought it was the end of the world. Then I realized, I don't know what a ground fault plug is, right? So you go into it a little bit more and go, oh, okay, well that's fine, you know, and then everything's fine. But then I've also told somebody that really your rafters, 6 of them are broken, your roof is falling inward. That's not good. That could be a really big fix. If they have to take the whole roof off, it'd be $30,000, $40,000. I got 20 phone calls over that. And I thought I'd explained it really thorough. I basically said the sky's falling, you know, but he still wanted to buy the house. He loved the house. I think he loved the house, actually. I don't know if he paid what they were initially offered, though, because nobody saw that when they first pulled up to the house. So there is some things, like Kelsey mentioned earlier, when you're walking through that, you know, when you decide, yeah, you know, I think this is it. Colors aren't what I like, but colors can be changed, right? And I don't even judge colors. Like half the time I don't even see what's on the walls when I walk into a place. I look at the condition of them, or is there something that has happened to that house structurally that's caused those walls to be in poor condition or something like that, or crack in the ceiling, for instance. When you're going through a house, pardon my squinting, my eyes are tired. You know, look at the slope of a floor. Like if you're walking down the hallway and it feels like you're drunk, and you're not. If you are, keep sure you're in the houses. But you know, it probably is leading to something else, right? So then when you go downstairs, you kind of take a look at the tops of the teleposts if you can see them. You know what the teleposts are, the steel jacks, some of wood, but most of them are steel now. They got bite marks up on the threads. I mean, somebody's been cranking them. Okay, now that's probably a good thing. I mean, almost every house needs to be adjusted at some point. Right? Things move. We talked about walls all the time. So if you look at things like that, you can ask those questions, right? And oftentimes, one of the first things I'll say to my buyers when I first meet them, I've already gone through the house, is, you know, exciting times. Is there anything you just got to get off your chest right now? You just got to ask. I'm married, I've got kids, and that's all good, so that question doesn't count, okay? But yeah.
Normally, Curtis asks what you guys do for a living, so that he can determine whether or not, like, so he knows how to talk to you.
Right.
Like if you've never had any construction or finishing or any house relevant background, he'll explain things to you, like bring it down, dumb it down a little bit for you so that you understand what he's telling you.
Or I can get a little bit more technical if you do have a bit more background, like my structural guy today. His wife was an environmental engineer too. Thank God there was nothing wrong with this house. It was a beautiful bungalow. Anyhow, yeah. So I guess when you're looking for a home inspector, most of the time, you know, you ink a deal, you've got your buyer's agent, you've been working together for a few weeks, and you're going to go through a list of conditions. And one of them is going to be, you know, a home inspection. Okay. Yeah, I think I should get one. I like it, but I don't really know a lot about it. All right. Do you know of one? Oh no, I don't. We never met. Okay. Well, you know, I trust you, Kelsey. You must know somebody. You're in the business. You deal with this all the time. That's usually how the referrals go. I get a lot off of Google searches. That just means I pay a company to make sure I'm at the top of the list. So you have to be aware of that, as funny as that is, but it's true. And I do pay a company very well, and I did have a website professionally done up and some branding done, so it does mean a lot. You're a website designer? Google guy? No, okay. Anyhow, and I didn't do that just so I could gain more business, but as you go further along in your profession, you know more and more people, and sometimes they don't think of it right now. I know a guy. I can't remember who it is. So they Google it. Oh, Jesus, yeah, I know that guy, and they choose him. So there's a number of ways to get to a home inspector, but most of them, especially in a purchase, is likely you're going to trust your realtor. Okay. So there's nothing going on that I know of between any particular realtors and any particular home inspectors in Regina. If you Google it, you're going to read horror stories from Toronto and Vancouver and this and that, and they were linked together and they're cahoots. I've never seen it. I've never been paid anything. I probably bought Kelsey as many coffees as she bought me in the last couple of years, just as I got a coffee this morning from the realtor that I was with this morning, and because I probably bought her one last time. Those are just business relationships or personal relationships. So try to find a home inspector, though, that you can find their background or ask those questions, much like you'd ask about your realtor, right? Or even your mortgage broker. Qualify them a bit. Find out what they've been doing. What have I been doing? For 19 years before 2011, I spent in the disaster repair industry. There was a fire, a flood, heaven forbid a death in a house. Any disaster that possibly could happen, we came in and took care of it, start to finish. So I've seen homes in their absolute worst. I've seen people in their most devastated times. So when I started looking at getting out of that, because after 19 years, it was, oh God, that's a lot of stress to hold on to. I didn't realize it until the first day, and I always say it was the first day of unemployment when I became a homeowner because I didn't have a job. But that just put pressure on me to build it. But that training, all of that stuff just makes sense. So when I'm in a house and I look at something and I go, well, yeah, I know XYZ Restoration company was here because look at those walls, and people are looking at me like, how the hell did you know that? I did that stuff. Or you know, something was put together that way. Well, it's because they did it themselves. You know, I've found fires in attics that somebody obviously took a cash settlement on, and they didn't do anything. They probably fixed the outside of the house a little bit, candied it up, and it turned out that fire was 20 years ago. So I kind of look at things kind of weird. I'm not a carpenter per se or an electrician. My dad was, I wasn't. Blowing up tongue to tell you I'm not very good with electricity, or really healthy respect for it. But it does give me a different overall, a generalist view of things. So if you're finding somebody that has been selling meat most of their life and they bought a franchise so that they can do home inspections because they think it's a real glorified, charming way to make a living, it's fun. I have fun with it. I enjoy meeting new people all the time, and every day is a good day. It's all in the work. But you want to qualify those things, find out what their backgrounds are. Not everybody can work together and fit together, so it doesn't hurt to do a little research. Your conditions are usually approximately a week, 7 business days, I
7 to
think.
10 days we give for conditions removal. And
Right.
again, that's that nice grace period that you guys have to have your home inspection done and your financing before you have to remove conditions.
Now, in that conditions, is it based on a home inspection or a favorable home inspection? How's the word?
Based on a professional home inspection is what we usually say.
That choice of wording is your out if people get cold feet. Or if something is disclosed to you and the seller just goes, no, I'm not paying for that. That's why we put the price of the house it is. So now you're at a stalemate. They're not coming down in price because the home inspector found that there's a crack in the old furnace in the heat exchanger, or the home inspector told you, hey, listen, I can't get into enough of it, but it looks in pretty rough shape. I think you should get a heating guy over here. So you spend an extra $1,800 and the heating guy goes, no, it's condemned. I've seen sellers go, oh, forget it, see it. I'm not fixing it. I'm not giving you any more money on it. So then you go, well, okay, you can't get along, and I'm not buying a new furnace. I saw another house for the same amount of money, and I know its furnace is newer. So there are things to do. It's not meant to be used as a tool to get out of a deal. It's meant to tell you what you're getting into. But it can be used that way. It gets pretty costly though, right? Because I would assume that if you did a home inspection on this one and you pulled out of this one, and I get a lot of repeat business, and I usually discount the second one. Yesterday, both my clients were both second time around. One was they drove by and they phoned the agent on the sign, and they thought they could get a good deal, and it didn't work out, so they backed out. They went back to their buyer's agent, whoever they were working with before. Wasn't really happy, but anyway, she still got them, and she found them a house, and almost always the second one works out better because you've gone through the process. But I hate to tell you this, at $400 for a general home inspection, extra $100 for a sewer line inspection if it's warranted or needed or suggested. It's $500, and then we assume that you're shopping in the same ballpark in the same area. You're probably going to get the same 2 services, so that I brought mine down to $360 for the second time around, just to be kind. It's 10%, but you get the same thing. So yeah, you're dropping about $800 or $900 on inspection. So that's why I said earlier, it's a really good idea to make sure that what you want to offer on, you're pretty certain that it's going to take something really, really hidden or exceptional to make you back out of that. Because it can get very expensive, as both of them outlined earlier, that you could be dropping a lot of money here and there.
One thing I want to touch on quickly, Curtis mentioned terminology about home inspection. Your offer, I didn't tell you guys, because it's very the nitty-gritty of the details, but your offer is subject to buyer's approval of home inspection, financing, septic sewer, gas line. So a seller would not be able to hold you to anything unless they approve it. Okay.
when, how, why. That's about it.
You guys have any questions? What's it like right now in the market as far as, like, I've heard it's more of a buyer's market right now, so because things are really selling, what are you seeing lately as far as people willing to budge with the home inspection and seeing that there are things to be done? Not great.
Let's say you guys wrote an offer on a house and you had a home inspection done, and sewer lines are a really good example because it's not something that I can see when we're looking at a house and writing an offer. Your sewer lines need to be replaced. That cost is anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000. Usually you would get the seller to go half, depending on the situation, but most of the time we can get that cost taken off of your offer to purchase. Now, you will get an odd seller that's just like, nope, I don't care. I'm going to sell my house for this price, and I'll let it sit on the market for 700 days if it has to. And then quite often you will get sellers that understand your predicament and will negotiate with you going forward. I wouldn't say we're in a buyer's or a seller's market right now. There's lots of inventory. There's lots of houses being sold. There's lots of property being bought. You probably have more of a buyer's market, but it's not like you can offer $40,000 lower than they're asking and you'll get what you want. Any other questions, guys?
When you're buying it,
Sorry. Go ahead.
With the book value, like you had a detailed that is being fair price. Do you also go through and kind of lay out costs for each of them carefully, or that's to figure out, do we get a copy of the?
That's a great question, because that's your binder, by the way, okay?
Okay.
And then I also onboard it too. So you take a look at it. And I always tell people at that time, it's a very common question, almost every job. How much do you think that's gonna be? Okay. The question just before that is, out of 1 to 10, or what do you think of this house? Should I buy it? It's not my decision. I just work for 3-4 hours to get you to the point where you can see what you're getting. And I don't know how you're going to digest that information because I really don't know a lot about you. I think I tried to lay it out, thanks guys, try to lay it out in point form enough that you can go through those things and then decide. Now, as Kelsey just alluded to, sewer lines, a furnace, there are some costs that come up quite often that I could give you some ballparks. And I always tell people at this point that you don't want to quote from me, you want to quote from the guy that's actually going to stand behind that number. So that's when your agent will go, okay, listen, I know we got to remove tomorrow. Let's try to get some numbers in by tomorrow afternoon or something. Sometimes that's not possible. That you can bring a foundation guy, for instance, and he's going to say, well, that guy can come in and say, well, yeah, you need 10 braces on this wall, or we got to pour a pony wall over here, or whatever. It's going to be this much money. Because then you can call him up, and he's hoping you will. That's why they do these things for free. Is that you're going to call him up and say, hey, you know what? We did get it down. They met us halfway. We'd like to hire you guys. How soon can you come do it? Right. So that's why they do those things for free. I'm not coming back unless I miss something and we need to talk about it. And that doesn't happen very often. I do, and I welcome calls. I get them all the time from clients like just getting possession tomorrow in the insurance company, Friday in the insurance company saying, what kind of wiring do you have in there? Well, it's in your book, but I have to walk them through that. Is there a backflow valve in there? Okay, we'll go to plumbing, look down on the right-hand side, what does it say? Oh, no, it's all cast. All the way out to the street, no, you don't have a backflow valve. Okay. I do a lot of houses. I see a lot of people for about an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes each, so I can't, by next week, it's not that I've forgotten you, but I do need to remind you. But I am always open to throw me a quick text and say, hey, where is this? Because I can generally walk you through it.
With that being said, if you have a home inspection done and you need to have like a roof quoted or a sewer line quoted or anything like that, we push conditions removal so that you have time to do that without being super stressed out and panicked and needing it done tomorrow. We push conditions removal and then we can bring those professionals in so that you can get that information before you decide to purchase the home.
With that being said, if you have any more questions, please feel free to ask them individually after. We do need to get things moving here as the library is going to kick us out soon. I'm going to do the draw for the keg gift card.
Did everybody get a ballot in? I know
yeah.
there were a couple people at the end that scooted in without getting a ballot in.
Let's get a ballot in here.
Right ahead.
Okay, while you're getting those ballots, I got some questions for you guys. Who can tell me with a show of hands what my full name is? Curtis Booker. Thank you. Okay.
There's a middle name
Tim
there. I don't even know his
Hortons
middle name.
All right, for the second Tim Hortons card. More or less, what did I say my background before I was doing inspections?
Disaster restoration.
There you go. All right. And lastly, for a $100 gift certificate towards your home inspection, good till this time next year. Who's buying a house in the next 4 months, do you think? Ooh, now I gotta come up with a hard one. Not that far. I thought that was gonna be easy. Okay. Oh, maybe as good as that. All right. Now that being said, guys, if you let me know that we met here and you do decide to call me up and make me aware of that, and I'll discount your purchase. How's that? So we'll save you a little bit of money. Prices, just expect to pay somewhere between, on a condo it's going to be a little bit less for some of us guys. We get to them a little bit quicker and there's less things to report back on with a different format. Expect anywhere between $275 on, say, like an apartment conversion, all the way to $400 for an average size home, one furnace. You start going up a little bit when you add, larger homes with 2 furnaces or over 2,500 square feet. It goes up incrementally a little bit. Out of town, expect to pay mileage. For me, it's outside of 50 kilometers. If you grab a card, I've got a website too. You can go check that out. It reminds me I have to go adjust my prices. That's it. So I'm gonna let them make their draw.
If everybody would fill out that the first-time home buyer seminar customer satisfaction survey on there too, we would really appreciate your feedback. The quality of the presentation, any comments or testimonials that you guys have are really, really appreciated. We like the feedback so that we can make them better next time. I know this one ran a little bit longer than we were planning on, but hopefully we kept you guys going. Sam's got that $50 gift card draw right here.
You guys want to put your names down? Let's draw fast.